have an Instagram account, but I hardly use them. I don't really do social media. And then when I found TikTok, I fell in love with just the fun stuff that's on TikTok. By no means have I fallen into the rabbit hole of the tarot TikTok yet. So I didn't know what kind of following was out there for this. So I did not expect this kind of turnout, and I am super, super grateful for this. The last couple of days, I've been in like this little cloud because I am absolutely beside myself on, so anyways, this is gonna be Sprout. She's my daughter, but she does not gender recognize. We don't really gender recognize that much in this house, just because she's trying to find herself and be her own individual. So her name that we go by is Sprout, and I know she's gonna smack me because I use her and she a lot of times, and she.
Like literally so close.
My Sprout doesn't like that. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we can go from there.
Wow. Sprout. I use they, them pronouns, and I wanted to do tarot readings because I always like the things. I like to guide people into how to get their life back together sometimes, and like even give them like some things and all that stuff. I lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. Tell us why you decided to be here.
Oh, I decided to do tarot readings because they're really cool. I guess. I mean, they have a lot more meaning to it than you think. And it really helps with a lot of people.
Sprout, can you speak up a tiny bit?
Sorry, I tend to mumble.
My Sprout definitely tends to mumble. So basically, she's kind of giving us a, oh, hey, Indigo, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming in.
How old are you, Sprout? I'm 12.
Sprout is 12. I'm sorry. This is going to happen a lot, and I told her that she needs to bear with me because, my age group, when we were in school, we were not taught not to use she, he, or anything like that to identify something. So, it's a learning curve for me too, but we'll get there. So that's just our little intro of why we are doing what we're doing. One of the other reasons is that I decided to do this free is because I believe that I was given this gift to help people. I'm not here to make a buck. I've gotten a lot of comments about donations or tips. By all means, if you guys want to do donations, if you want to send me money, if you want to do tips like that, feel free. I'm not going to deny it. I'm a human being just like you, so I'll accept anything that you guys want to give me, but just know that it's not, I'm not charging for it.
It's not mandatory.
It's not a mandatory, but it will be greatly appreciated if it happens. So just know that I'm 100% a stickler on that I'm not charging for any of this stuff, okay? Let's go ahead and get started on the actual tarot.
Yo.
So just to give you guys a little bit of a history on tarot, and the reason why I want to do this is because whenever you're looking into doing something new, you should probably find out a little bit of the origin of it, just to make sure that that's a path you want to go down. In my lifetime, I have done several different things to find my path in life, as far as different religions that I looked into, different spiritual guidance, things like that, and I couldn't get where I needed to be. At the age of 15, I found out I was pregnant for the first time. Daddy at the time was not very supportive. So I wound up having a miscarriage. During that time, it was a really hard time for me, and I had to go through a lot of soul searching, I should say. My brother is the person who introduced me to tarot. He came home one day and he said, hey, my friend gave me this. I'm not going to use it. I think they're interesting, but here you go. He handed me my first deck at 15. Literally, I put it in the drawer. That's where that deck stayed for about 2 years. In that process of the 2 years that my deck was in the drawer, I was learning about tarot. I was actually starting to pick up books. I was starting to get some information. Starting to get a lot of information, starting to, you know, really dig into the history of tarot. The other thing is some people believe that tarot is a type of religion because of how it's structured. So just want to real quick give you just a base overall history of how tarot was born. So in the 15th century, the very first tarot deck came out was about the 1500s. And so at that time in the 1500s, they didn't have regular pieces of paper like you and I have now. They didn't have card structure like you and I have now. So their actual way of reading tarot cards was a almost like a placement paper or parchment paper, I should say, where the drawings were on the paper. So almost like a lottery card. They took stones, which would represent dice to us today, and they would throw them onto the paper. Where the dice lied would depend on how the cards were read. Okay, that's just a real small intro. You can go and Google it. You can go to Wikipedia. I know a lot of people say Wikipedia is not credible, but they actually are on a lot of stuff. You can go check out Wikipedia. They have a lot of information on the origin of tarot cards. A tarot deck was invented in northern Italy during the 15th century, okay? During that time, they had the first, I guess, war or something was going on between the French and Italy at that time, okay? So that's your basic breakdown of the history of how tarot was born, okay? The reason why people did tarot card readings back in the days was to get guidance on decisions for rulers. So like a lot of kings and queens would have tarot guiders with them to read their cards and tell them what path they needed to take for certain decisions. Okay. So, there are 3 major types of tarot decks, okay? There's 100 million out there of different type of tarots, but there are 3 major ones that you follow the curriculum on how you read your tarot cards, okay? That's what I'm going to go into right now. I have a board back here, and I know that I'm not mirrored on here, so I know it's backwards for you guys. And excuse me, I am picking up on a lot of anxiety energy from you guys, so my voice is a little cracky, and I apologize for that. So there are 3 major type of tarot cards, I should say, or decks. The first one is going to be Tarot de Marseillais, okay? I'm really bad at pronouncing words and stuff like that, so please bear with me. Show you real quick what the decks look like back in the days. So this was one of the, obviously the color on here is very vibrant, and this is more modernized, but this is what the decks look like back in the days. They were all in Italian, and they had very simple pictures on them. Nothing was really out there to the point where you could actually get a lot of information. So these people who read the cards during that time were gifted. They were born with this ability, okay? There's 2 things with tarot. I believe anybody can read tarot cards. You can read tarot cards, but you have to have a certain intuition and a certain ability to be able to read cards for others, okay? And be spot on and be able to dig into their history and stuff like that.
How was it spelled?
It's Marseilles. Now this is the first known deck after the parchment paper. So remember we had the parchment paper and they would roll the stones. So after that was the thing, that was during the 1400s. So after the 1400s, the first very known card deck itself is this Tarot de Marseillais. Okay, this was the first known deck and it was dated back to the 1700s. Its origin is Italian. This is a very rare deck to find, okay? You can find replicas of this deck, but the actual main focus of this deck is really hard to find. Okay, so just want to keep that in mind. A lot of people don't use this deck anymore, and it's because of the translation with the language. The next one is going to be the Rider deck. I know I touched a little bit about this deck on my last live. This particular deck I recommend to all beginners. Okay, it's called the Rider deck. You can get it anywhere. This is the second known deck of tarot history. It dates back, started in the 1900s. Okay, so this is our deck. This is our generation's, our ancestors' decks, if we don't want to go further past the 1900s. This is the most commonly used deck. You will find this deck at pretty much any card reader. Usually has this deck with them. The third deck is going to be the Thorth deck. And I'm sorry, that's spelled Thoth. Now this one here is a little bit of a fun deck because this deck is not a very commonly known deck. This deck only had about a 10-year lifespan where it was really popular, and it was really popular from 1930 to 1940. Okay, now my son gave me a really good history lesson this morning that I didn't know that I wanted to share with you guys, and that's actually what the meaning Thorth is, the Thoth. So this origin is actually Egyptian, and this represents the Egyptian god of learning and writing. Again, you guys can Google this, you can look it up. You can definitely get some more information on that particular deck. The other thing I wanted to let you guys know a little bit on the history is the Rider deck. Again, like I said, this is the one that I use. This is the most common deck you'll find. On these decks, you usually find very simple pictures, very vibrant colors, and then all of the words are going to be in English, okay? This is the easiest deck to start off with. If it's okay to put your deck away or throw it away. Okay, so when we have our tarot decks, there's two ways to dispose of a deck. You never want to take your deck and throw it in the trash, because that's just like throwing away who you are as an individual. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to wrap your deck. You're going to wrap the heck out of it in cellophane or plastic wrap, whatever you guys call it. And then you're going to put it in a paper bag, okay? In that paper bag, here's what you need to do. You can either burn it or you can bury it. Those are the only two ways of really getting rid of your tarot cards when your tarot cards are time to go, okay? Now, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about handling your cards, since that was a very good question.
I'll just use these.
Some of the things that you might read on the internet, or that you might have been told at one time or another, that cleaning and cleansing your decks are something you should do on a regular basis. Yes, it is. 100% correct. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick. Every time you want to clean your deck,
or can you give them to somebody else, like to get rid of their deck?
you can, yes. When your cards are done with you, you can gift them to somebody else, yes. But if you're disposing of your cards, the only two methods is to either burn them or to bury them. But if your cards are done with you, that means it's time for them to move on. But like what I mean by disposing your deck could mean that like your cards are ripped. You have too much damage on them from maybe you spilled water or something on them, because things happen, life happens. That's what happens with your decks. So with that being said, if you're disposing your deck, the two ways are going to be either to burn or bury. Cleanse before you burn? No. Because the thing is you are now giving back to the universe that energy. If you cleanse before you do that, everything you've read may not have negative consequences, but just it may not be as accurate or as pure as it should be if you do it that way. There's two. There's clearing and then there's cleansing. Okay, when we clear our cards, super easy way to do it is shuffle. Just shuffle the shit out of your cards, okay? The other thing you can do to clear your cards is take your cards and put them in order by the face and the number. So put them all back in the order that they came in when you first originally got them, and then start with your shuffling again, okay? Now to cleanse the cards. When you are done using your cards, you do not have to do a cleanse process every time. In fact, I don't recommend that. I really only recommend a full cleanse if you've done a deep reading, okay? So for instance, not that long ago, I did a pretty deep reading for somebody where I pulled out a lot of past information. And so I don't want that to stay into my cards, so I cleansed afterwards. And what I mean when I cleansed is I took my cards and I smudged them each individually. You can take incense, you can take a candle, any type of scent that you find relaxing or soothing or calming. Those are what you want to go to, okay? My go-to scent is the scent of roses. For some reason, I'm drawn to it. Maybe it's my name. I'm not sure. It could be that my mom had a lot of roses around me when she was a kid. I'm not 100% sure.
And the reason why you have to find your scent is because, like, it's still cold on your energy and something that's, like, close to you. Like, if your favorite scent is, like, my mom's roses, then you're gonna have to use a lot of roses. Not, like, all the time, but, like...
Yeah, it's just a go-to scent. Jasmine is very popular. I know people that have a lot of jasmine around them. Frankincense is another one. A lot of people don't use myrrh just because it's a lot stronger than frankincense. So Rider is one of the three major type of cards. Now you're going to run into where a Rider has different artwork. It's more modernized. It may have more simplistic pictures. Sometimes you get ones that are called witch tarot decks. Those are also Riders. Those kind of decks, they're all the same. They all follow the same pattern on how they're read. It's just what you are comfortable with and what you can identify with. I go with the Rider, the classic Rider, only because a lot of people have seen the cards before. They understand the meaning of the cards. So you don't have to go too far into making sure that your seeker is understanding you. When picking a card, when picking a deck for yourself, the best way to do that is going to be either going to like a novelty store that you know sells a lot of different type of tarot cards and physically touching them and see what feeling you get out of that card. The other way you can do it is you can purchase the card online. Once you receive the card, you're going to open your boxes, of course, touch your cards, find out if those particular cards are for you. You are going to know what you understand, and you are going to know what feeling you get, okay? But if you just absolutely don't know and you want somebody to tell you what to start with, the best deck to start with is going to be any one of the Riders. The other ways of cleansing your deck is you can do what's called a moon or a sun cleanse, okay? What that means is you will take your deck just as is. Don't put a rubber band, don't put plastic, don't put anything in it. Sit it in a windowsill where you're going to either get full moonlight or full sunlight. It needs to sit there for 8 hours. Basically what your cards are going to be doing at that point is re-energizing itself. These lessons are going to be based on the Rider cards, but I will go into further details if you have a different type of card.
Am I not going to ruin the cards if I put them under the sun?
No, because you're sitting them for 8 hours. So your cards are not going to get ruined because you're going to have them face down. So this is the part that may lose some of its coloring, but in all honesty, this is the part that we really don't care if it gets damaged. This is the part of the card that we actually care about if it starts to lose its color, if it starts to lose all that stuff. But with sun and moonlight cleansing, what some Wiccans believe is that what it does is it not only re-energizes your cards, but helps bring in the positive entities or spirits or symbols into your cards to make it easier for you to read them. The last way to cleanse your cards, and this one was actually a shocker to me because I had to look this one up, is burial. So what you do is you take your cards and you bury them into the ground for 7 days, okay? Make sure that you're not putting them in your ground during a rainy season or a snowy season, or you don't have your sprinklers on, things like that, okay? Because your cards will get damaged. But that is called what's called an earth cleanse. And so what that does is automatically strips everything from your card. So your cards basically come out brand new, as if you had just purchased a new set of cards. If you like your cards, they're doing great for you. They might be giving you a little bit of blockage, or something might be going on with your cards where you're not receiving the messages you should be receiving. A burial for 7 days would help with that. But again, that is a long process, so it's kind of up to you on whether or not you want to do that. Crystal charging with your tarot cards is good to do before you do any type of reading, okay? So when you do crystal charges, basically you're going to take any type of crystal. I'm just going to use this one, and you're going to put it on top of your deck of cards, and that's actually going to stay like that for about 4 to 5 hours. Now, it's a quick cleanse, but what you're doing is you're inviting the elements of this particular crystal into your card readings. Sometimes when we have crystals around us, it tends to give us different type of energy fields. For instance, I carry with me the black onyx. Now, my Sprout here has been holding on to this for quite some time because she was going through a little bit of a tough time a couple weeks ago, so I let her carry it. Last night I told her, I said, hey, for my classes, I'm definitely going to need it. Now, the reason that I carry this particular one with me is just, it's a protection stone. So black onyx, or obsidian is another name for it, is definitely a go-to for mine on protection stones. And so you want to kind of keep that with you whenever you're going to be around people that you don't know. Just because you want to protect your energy at all times. The black one. So this one is the black onyx. You can also get it as an obsidian. Obsidian, black onyx is usually the same thing. But this one I got in this hexagon shape because I'm a reader. So as readers, we tend to get a lot of stuff thrown at us. And so what these points actually represent is the blockages from my center. So that's why it's in a hexagon shape.
I actually have a question for you, Mother.
Oh, yes.
Are you able to use your birthstone as like a cleaning stone? Not a cleaning stone, but like
a protection stone? Yes, of course. Your birthstone, that's your number, that's the stone you were born with. That's the one you should carry with you. I'm lucky enough to sometimes have my stone with me at all times because I'm an April baby, which means I'm diamonds. So what girl doesn't want to carry diamonds with them? You only purchase raw stones. Yes, I love raw stones. Polished stones are good too, but they do require just a little more maintenance. What a lot of fun people do, but I'll try this, but I'm not very good at this particular thing, and that's when they come in here. I'm terrible at that. So my shuffle technique is just a traditional shuffle where you take your cards, you split them in half, and you shuffle your cards. Start getting used to that. So basically what you want to do is start using your cards. You want your cards to start being flexible. The more flexible your cards are, the easier it is for you to start understanding them.
I'm going to attempt this.
Okay? This is a brand new deck, so this deck has a lot of work to do. This deck is at least 6 years old, so this one doesn't have too much to do. But the other thing that I like to do, let me show you, when shuffling the decks, is to split the deck into half. Split the deck in half again, shuffle one half at a time, and then shuffle together. Okay, this is a good way of getting your cards all mixed up to where you're not going to be able to predict what the next card is coming out, because sometimes that happens. Us as readers, we can definitely pick up on what the next card might be depending on what the situation is. What you need to know about handling your deck is that during the first 30-day process of you learning your deck, you are going to need to keep this into a velvet bag. Baggies at any card store, if they sell baseball cards, anywhere they sell those kind of cards, they will sell these kind of bags for them too. It is important that it's a velvet container and that it has like a...
Does it have to be black?
No, it could be any color. It should have a what's that called? Silk inside, and then the velvet exterior. Now the reason for that is because it's going to protect your cards. You always want to get your bag just a little bit bigger than your cards, so that when you're doing your readings, you're not having to fumble in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So just make sure that your bag is just a little bit bigger than your cards. All right. Once you get your bag, like I said, this is going to be the first 30-day process. You're going to put your cards into your bag. Okay? You can play with your cards as much as you want, but when you're done, put them in your bag. For the first 30 days, you are going to hold 2 different stones in your bag. Okay? My go-to stones, like I said, is the onyx and the tiger's eye. Both of those are very good protectors, and they're also very good at absorbing information. So I like to keep those 2 with me, but you can always do a protection stone and then a quartz as well. So you could do like a rose quartz or a white quartz, smoky quartz, but any kind of quartz you want, but make sure you have some type of protection stone with it. Okay? First 30 days, you're going to carry this thing with you everywhere you go. If you're a female, it better be in your purse. If you are a male, stick it in your back pocket. If you can't carry it with you, put it somewhere where you're going to be around at all times. If you are a truck driver or you drive in your vehicle all the time, glove box or side pouch, wherever it's at. The reason for that is because your cards are basically your baby. You have to take care of these as if they were a person and they had a personality, and you're trying to understand their language. If you're a mother, you probably remember when your baby was born, they couldn't speak. Their language was screaming. So you had to interpret and understand what your child was trying to say without actual words being given. That's basically what your cards are doing to you on a daily basis. After those 30 days, you can put your cards wherever you want and use them however you want, how often you want to use them. The main thing is if you're going to be using your cards, clean hands are always something good to do. I know right now we're in a pandemic and we're all practicing good hand washing skills. It's the same thing when we handle our cards. Before we handle our cards, we want to make sure we wash our hands so that we don't have any dirt or energy that could be absorbed into the cards unnecessarily. Okay. Real quick, my husband is taking notes and giving me questions every now and again from you guys, and I have to mention this because I told my husband this morning that this particular person has been coming out quite a bit to me. I don't normally get this kind of a draw on a specific individual, but I did mention it yesterday in my live too, that I'm feeling like a connection with this person, and I do want to go ahead and mention who that is. Indigo Beauty Art. She came on my live yesterday, and automatically the 2 of us had a connection that we did not understand. She's telling me now, I guess she has the scent of roses around her. That would make sense because, like I said, we definitely have some type of connection going on. And I just wanted to let you all know that. So you can open your cards. Let me show you. Give me that box real quick. The angel deck box. Go ahead and open your cards, really. By all means, open your cards. Here's the thing. I don't want you to touch them until you get your stuff. Every single deck of cards comes with a book. I want you to use this before you touch your cards, okay? Inside the book, it goes into details, sometimes even explaining the type of card it is, and it goes into the detail of how to read that card. This is your study guide, okay? If these books are too small or they read like stereo instructions, Amazon, if you go to Amazon and you type in tarot card beginners books, very amazing. There are a lot of books out there that are really, really good and would give you a lot of information. But yes, please, please, please do not touch your cards until you get either the bag and the stone or at least the bag. Okay, bare minimum, at least the bag. And then if you want to study and, play around and all that stuff,
the guidance book.
Use the book.
What if I didn't know how to treat mine for the first 30 days? What should I do now?
Let's say you didn't know this secret, because a lot of people don't know this secret. That is okay. You need to cleanse your cards. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a deep cleanse on your cards. You're either going to do a smudging on your cards, an incense burn on your cards, moon or sunlight cleansing, or if you want to get really deep and dirty, you're going to do a 7-day dirt burial. So Nam Champa, I love that one. That's one of my favorite incense in the world. It's actually known for spiritual, religious rituals in a lot of Wiccan traditions. So it's definitely a go-to. Nam Champa is very good.
What kind of protection stones do you suggest?
So, good.
Like we said last time, I think your birthstone is really nice if you can find some, because you're connected to that birthstone. It's a great protection for you. And also, whatever Mom was going to say.
Yeah, so your birthstone is definitely something that's super easy to get a hold of. You know, we all probably have, sorry, in my chair. We all have some birthstones, either some earrings or something that we have laying around. Definitely perfect to use. My favorite is, like I said, is going to be the black onyx or obsidian. Any type of obsidian is a good protection stone. It's one or the other to start with. Okay, I know that you guys can't go out and just purchase everything right away. So just, you know, be patient with yourself too. That you're not really mistreating your cards. To mistreat your cards meaning that you are going to pull up this card and tell somebody, because you have all these swords here, you're on your way to death. Like, that's a mistreatment of the card. That this is not what that card means. So that would be a mistreating of the cards. If you accidentally tear your cards, that happens. That is not mistreating your cards. That is just natural wear and tear on your cards.
Yeah, it happens over age, so don't be freaked out that you think you did something wrong if you teared your card, or if, like, one of it got messed up on the back or something.
Yeah.
Could you wrap them in cloth, but them inside something?
You can. So the type of cloths that I would use is anything real thin, so like a cheesecloth or like a gauze maybe. You real thin and breathable. You definitely want it breathable. All right, so let me go into a little bit of how we know we are understanding our tarot cards. All right, so after we've gone through the whole process in the 30-day, basically get to know your cards, you want to start talking to your cards. I was going to save this for the next lesson, but it kind of ties into what I want to go over, so I'm just going to go ahead and include it. You're pretty intuitive. There you go. Yeah. So, right there. Tells you right there.
Talk to your cards like a plant, if you have a garden or something.
So, some of the things that you'll hear a lot of readers do is they say that they interview their cards. If you've ever heard of I'm in the interview process with my cards, or you know, I can't read right now because my cards are being interviewed. Whenever you hear that, that means that that person is trying to build that relationship with that card. So basically, after your 30-day process, after you've already touched your cards and you've gotten to know your cards, and maybe you've already done some research in your book and you actually understand the base meaning of some of the cards, now is a good time to go ahead and start interviewing your deck. Now, first of all, some of the things that are out there when it goes to interviewing the deck is that your deck is going to tell you its name, and it's going to tell you its origin and its history. Here's the thing. The deck does do that, but not to that kind of detailed information. You're definitely going to have to interpret some of that on your own. The cards in the decks are not going to tell you exactly like, hi, my name is Bob and I come from Seattle. Like, it's not going to do that. But it is going to tell you, I'm a male. I have been in my life and in my form for X amount of years, and here's what I can teach you. That's basically what your cards are going. During the interview process, you want to take your deck of cards, shuffle it, play with it, the whole 9 yards, and you want to ask your deck 3 questions. This is where the first spread will come into play. I'm going to go into details on the actual spreads and all that stuff at the next live. But for this one, I'm just going to give you guys a base of what I'm doing. 3-card spread is your most traditional spread that you're ever going to find, okay? The 3-card spread holds past, present, and future. But you can take it a step further. You can find out what my problem is, how do I fix it, and where do I go from here. I mean, you can get as detailed in these this 3-card spread process as you want. So I'm just going to take a for instance. I'm going to put 3 cards down, and we're going to ask my deck some questions because I want to get to know my deck. Now, I already know my deck. Me and my deck have tons of conversations. My deck is a female. My deck is also of ancient heritage. My deck comes from the French era. It doesn't come from the Italian era, even though my ancestors are Italian. My deck is really from the French era. That's where it was born. And so my deck has already told me basically the information I want it to give me. Now, the next question I asked my deck was, what am I going to learn from you? Now, I've gotten this question I've had this question several different times, and I've gotten several different answers on my deck. That happens. Now, when that happens, it usually means that you need to organize yourself a little bit better so that you can pinpoint what it is you need to do. Like your spiritual guide, yes. One of the things that, like I said, I've asked my cards before is, what are you going to teach me? What do I need to learn from you? Some of the stuff that I've been told is patience. Some of the stuff that I've been told is love. And some of the stuff that I've been told is perseverance, okay? Now, I know those are very common things to hear and common topics and all that stuff. But patience, let me give you a little bit of a history on that. So my 3rd son, when he was born, anytime you put him in a car seat, he would scream bloody murder as if you were killing him. There was a very difficult time in my life because I couldn't go anywhere without him screaming at the top of his lungs until I took him out of the car seat. So my cards told me that I needed to learn patience. So at that time in my life, I learned patience. Love, that definitely during a time in my life where I had felt like nobody loved me. I was alone, even though I had a lot of people around me. I was just really stuck in my mental state. So I had to get out of that. Your cards talk to you. It's just a matter of whether you are true to yourself to listen to your cards. So let me just ask my card a question. What is it that I'm going to get out of teaching these classes? 9 of Wands. Now, what the 9 of Wands will tell me, and this is how you understand whether or not your cards are talking to you. The 9 of Wands say I'm a little bit of a daydreamer. I like to just kind of sit around and focus on the future. I don't really want to handle my life experiences that are going on right this second because I'm too stuck in my daydream. That's what my cards are telling me about that right now. Let's see what else they have to say. Again, the question is, what am I going to learn out of doing these classes on live? So far I've learned that I can't be a daydreamer, because if I'm a daydreamer, I'm not going to be able to give you guys the information that I want to, because I'm going to be too stuck in what I'm doing instead of actually engaging with you guys. So this is actually a really good card for me to get. Let's find out what else my cards have to say. So, this 4, right?
I don't know, I can't.
1,
Yeah,
4. 4 of Swords. Okay, so the 4 of Swords basically tells me that I need to rest. Okay, I need to make sure that I take time for myself, and I need to focus on myself as well during this process. So my energy is not drained. I do need to be aware of how long I do these meetings, how often I do readings, how often I do things. Okay, so this is my rest period. Again, you guys saw me shuffle these cards 100 times. I'm not pulling these out on my own. This is my deck talking to me. Okay, now I'm going to ask, I want to find out what else is going on and what else I might be able to learn from doing this particular stage in my life. Okay, so I pulled up the Queen of Swords. Now, all of my cards, I want to make sure that I point that out. They're all in the upright position. In tarot, like I've mentioned several times, there are 2 positions to read your card. There's the upright and the down face position. Usually, if your card is in a down face position, it comes with a warning, but that doesn't mean that it's a negative, okay? So this is an upright position. So basically, what my Queen of Swords is telling me is that I'm going to be celebrated by you guys. You guys are going to be celebrating the fact that I am giving you this gift, sending you knowledge, sending you information, because I am of a high standard when it comes to this type of stuff, okay? I'm not trying to be conceited. I'm not trying to make myself sound better than anybody else, because by all means, I learn every day. I'm just like you guys. But here's the thing, is you all are celebrating me, and I do see that. The fact that you guys blew up my account as quickly as you did just already shows me that I am being celebrated, and that this is a gift that I'm doing for a good reason. So as you can see, this is what my cards are telling me. I had just had a conversation with my cards in front of you guys. I shuffled my cards 100 times. I, made sure, oh, I think I have a question. I went ahead and, asked my cards what I was going to be learning, and this is what my cards told me. So if I were to pull up these cards, and let's say I, as the reader, don't like what my cards have to say. Now, this happens quite often. It happens to me a lot, too. Us as readers, we tend to search for the right answer, I should say. So what we'll tend to do is, if I don't like this spread, I don't like what my cards have to tell me. Let's do it again. Let's see what my cards say this time. Uh-oh. I pulled up the Three of Swords, and it's in a down-faced position. So the Three of Swords has to do with love and heartbreak and betrayal. So basically, if this was in the upright position, it would mean that I was going through some type of heartbreak, or I'm just really, really, really having a hard time with the heart area. Because it was in the down-faced position, my cards are still talking to me. They're telling me basically, I don't give a shit that you pulled these three aside. I'm still going to talk to you. This is telling me that it's actually the opposite of that. If I don't do what I'm saying I'm going to be doing, I am going to be heartbroken. I'm the one that's going to lose out. Not you, me. Okay? So my cards are still screaming at me. Let's see what else they have to say. Ten of Wands. Okay, the Ten of Wands. If we look at Mr. Ten of Wands, there's a couple things happening with him. He's definitely someone who is on a journey, and who is definitely trying to carry the load of many. Okay, as you can see, he's struggling a little bit, but my deck is sassy. She's a bitch sometimes. Yes, she is a bitch sometimes. So basically, this is telling me that on my journey, I need to make sure that I can balance all of you guys, and that I do not get overwhelmed. So I need to make sure that I'm patient and I take time with myself. Let's see what else my card has to say. Okay. I pulled up the Hangman. Alright. So, I love my deck. She is a sassy little thing. So, the Hangman card indicates somebody who is at peace and who is very well knowledged in themselves. Okay, they're very much. They have the chakra going on, I guess I could say. The chakra's there, okay? So with this card being said, this is basically telling me that because it's in the upright position, I will never fool you guys. I am not a jokester. I am not going to tell you lies. What I'm saying is 100% honest. This Hangman is definitely holding me and accountability to what I am doing. So basically what my cards just told me, and this is how card reading goes, guys, okay? I'm going to give you guys just a quick little intro. I have 6 cards here, remember. 3 of them I got rid of because I was like, fuck you, I don't like what you have to say. 3 of them came out, I still don't like what it has to say. What do I do at this point? Well, now I've got to translate this, right? First 2 cards that I pulled up on each deck was going to be the Wands and the Upside Down Swords. So again, if I spend too much time daydreaming and not focusing on what my goal is at hand, I am going to be heartbroken. Does that make sense, you guys? Do you see how these cards will relate to one another?
You sound like my math teacher. Just in tarot form.
Oh, wow. Okay, next one. The next two cards that I pulled up. Remember, I had the rest card. I need to take time for myself in between these things. I need to make sure that I am resting and rejuvenating myself. Because if I don't, all I'm going to be doing is carrying a heavy load that I can't hold. So, as you guys can see, the further and further we go along, the more and more I'm going to be able to help you guys understand what your cards are at least saying to you. One last one is going to be the three cards that I pulled up. Okay, remember, I'm going to be celebrated. I am in the state of celebration. You guys are definitely showing me that beyond any of my imagination, anything that I could even remotely come close. All right, so on these two cards, what did she tell me first? My deck told me that I was going to be celebrated, and I was just going to be, because I'm offering this to you, you guys are going to be reciprocating it back and absorbing, and it's great. But I cannot lie. I cannot give you guys false information. I cannot do anything that I'm not 100% comfortable with myself. So there you go. I've also come to the realization of naming my deck.
What deck is that, huh? Is this, huh? The writer's deck.
This is the writer's deck. So this is the deck that I tell everybody that is really good for beginners. It is a very easy deck to read. It's a very easy deck to understand. And the more you use your deck, the more you'll enjoy it. Now, once you become a master, I should say, at identifying the different suits. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Once you can identify what your cards are saying to you, you can start getting a bigger picture. Now, I said 3-card spreads are usually the first and the easiest ones to do. And the reason for that is because there's only 3 things you're looking at. And it's usually past, present, or future. Okay? Past, I'm a daydreamer. Present, I need to rest. Future, I'm going to be celebrated. Okay? Past, I have a strong heart. I'm loving. I'm willing to give you guys everything I got. Present, I could get overwhelmed if I'm not careful because I could be carrying a huge load. And then my future is that I need to make sure I stick the course, and I'm 100% honest with you guys.
This entire time, I was thinking about how the deck feels about you not wanting the first 3 cards that you got because they were pretty good.
Yeah, so every now and again, my deck, you guys saw it. I'm not making this shit up. You saw me shuffle the cards. You saw me put them out. You saw me interpret what they were for me. Now again, I can go ahead and, as a reader, read this a little differently. So, let's say it's the same question. What am I going to learn from this? Let's say I want to hear something negative, right? I don't want it to be positive because I don't want to think that I'm going to succeed at something because that's a scary fucking thing to do.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this card and I'm going to pay too much attention to the look on his face, the way he stands, how many wands he has around him, and what's in the distant future. Because you automatically go to the negative when you're first reading for yourself, you can always misinterpret. And this is where understanding your cards comes into play. Now, I'm going to go one further. Can you grab me that paper right there? I don't want to lift it up because... Thank you. All right. So, for my little sprout here...
Me? Okay.
I decided a few months ago that I was going to give her a cheat sheet. And what I mean by a cheat sheet is just basically that. It is a sheet of paper, and I'll show you in a second, but I have to shuffle these real quick. There we go. It's a sheet of paper that has all of the cards and what their base meanings are.
Well, not all of them, it's just the main.
Oh, yeah, it's just the main. It's the number cards, really.
Yeah.
The main and the number cards. The suits and numbers.
We got the swords, the wands, the pentacles, and the cups.
If you're interested in my cheat sheet, I'd be happy to make a photocopy and maybe email it to you, or type it out somehow. I'll figure out how to do that. and that way you guys can have it too. But I created this for Sprout here because I wanted her to, number one, understand the base meaning of the cards. Every single card in a tarot deck has a standard meaning. If you guys have your deck and it's a Rider deck, or you have the Two of Pentacles, I want you to pull it out for a second. Again, what I did was, like, I'm going to show this to you guys one more time. What I did was I went ahead and put in, like, for instance, this is the Swords meaning, and it's got the upright and the reverse or the down face position on there. I put reverse because a lot of people don't understand down face. I've been saying down face for years, but I put reverse because that's usually what it is on. We went ahead and I pulled out the Two of Pentacles for her. So I'm going to have her read to you guys the base meaning of this card.
2, if it's upright, priorities and ease, which means that you will have an easy whatever you're trying to find out, and priorities, like you have to do it. If it's reversed, you lose balance and you're disorganized. So basically this is about organization on what you're trying to do and what you're not trying to do. If it's, so in reverse, it's the opposite of organization. If it's upright, it is organization, and you will have an easy ride.
Okay, so with tarot card readings, during the process of learning, this is where you're going to start. You are going to start by learning the base meaning of every card. Every single card has a base meaning.
Does Sprout have an accent? No, I have a speech
Why
impediment.
do some readers not read the reverse card? Okay, this is where tarot tends to get some of its stigmatism or some of its false claims, and the reason why a lot of people don't believe tarot is true. When you're doing a card reading, the reader will get a sense on the seeker, what that information is that the seeker needs to know at that point. If the seeker comes in with a lot of high anxiety, feels like the world is crashing down on them, I know that's not everybody, but it could be a handful of you guys. When you're going to look for information, sometimes your readers can get confused on the message that is being given. So instead of reading a down face or reverse side, they want to try to give you the positive things, so they'll stick to the positive meaning of the cards. Not saying that they are a fraud, not saying that anything is wrong or they are not legit. It's just that their message is being confused at the time, because it could be what energy you as the seeker is giving out. I hope that helps. Now, I'm not going to go into any type of placements on this meeting of where the cards go, but it does depend on the placement of your spread on what the card's true meaning is. But every single card has a base meaning. So again, the Two of Pentacles base meaning is priorities, meaning you've got your shit together. Yeah. You're a very organized person. You're somebody that can easily juggle 2, 3, 4 things at a time. You're probably somebody who holds different job titles at a company. You wear many hats and you do it with ease, okay? That's the kind of stuff you can get out of this type of a card. Now, the other thing you want to look at is actually the detail and the picture work into the card as well. You want to pay attention to the colors. You want to pay attention to the stuff that's happening in the background. You want to pay attention to the individuals, what they're wearing, how they're holding things, their posture. All of that are symbols and signs of what the card is trying to say for that particular moment. So if I were to just be doing a card pull, a card pull is one card. You read one card at a time, okay? I don't know you from Adam. I'm going to tell you, if I pull this card up for you, this tells me that you're probably somebody who is of high authority in your career position, as well as being able to balance your home and work life with no problem. So again, this is something, but here's why I might go a little bit deeper. As an advanced card reader, we can get deep into the information that the card is giving us. So if you look right back here, anytime you have movement going on in your cards, that indicates motion, right? That's movement. Something's happening. You have stuff that's about to either come your way or has already passed. In this scenario, because the guy is standing in front of these moving waves, that means this was a problem that you had way back then. Okay? You have now come to the point where you can balance all of the stuff that you wanted to balance. So in this particular card, I would tell my seeker, you had a rough patch at one point going on this journey of learning how to balance things, okay? But that rough patch doesn't mean that it's over. And the reason why I say it doesn't mean that it's over is because you still have a lot of movement here. And that's where that would come into. So again, reading cards depend on the situation at hand. Why did that seeker come to you? What is the main goal for that seeker? Okay, sometimes readers will get questions like, is my husband cheating on me? Am I going to be divorced in 2 years? Is my ex-boyfriend going to come back to me? And I'm just naming off some of the questions that I've received. Some of the other ones, do I have an angel around me? All of those questions can be answered, but true readers will not do direct answers, if that makes sense. Because you yourself as an individual, as a human being, you have the willpower and the right to make your own decisions at all times. So with that being said, you still dictate your life. Your cards are just a guide, okay? They're direction, information. That's all it is. What you do with that information, that is completely up to you. Your cards are not going to tell you, hey, if you don't do this, you're going to die tomorrow. They don't do that. A lot of readers will give that extra vibe for whatever reason they do. Not to discredit any readers out there. There are amazing readers out there, and then there are fraudulent readers. You just need to be careful. If you're trying to find a reader, somebody you can engage with, somebody who you can easily talk to, somebody who you're getting a sense of, I need to be around this person, is probably a good reader for you.
And make sure if they do that, like, oh, I'm going to pull a card for you, the Temptress, you're going to meet this amazing person in your life, and it's going to be tomorrow. Like, that's not what it's supposed to do. Also, I don't know what the Temptress actually means, so.
What do you think it means? Let's
Love!
Let's give her a tryout. All right,
I don't know what
Temptress. Here's the Temptress card, guys. If you look at the Temptress card, what's the first thing you notice? Probably the word Temptress. Next is probably the big ass angel wings in the back. So basically what this card usually indicates is a temptation of some kind. Okay? Somebody is tempting you with things, and this person is going to be your guardian through that process. That's the baseline for this card.
So it has nothing to do with love. It's
Not
just
really.
like you get a guardian.
Well, it does. Okay, the base of it doesn't, but it can, depending on where it is in the spread and what type of spread you're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. So the next thing that I want to go through or touch back up on is going to be the identification of the tarot cards. Okay.
Yep.
So remember I told you there's three major types of decks. Okay, now we can go into that just a little bit further. Your Rider is one of your major types of decks, right? But now we're going to go into a little bit further on the type of reads that are in these decks. In the three different types of tarot cards, you're going to get the major ones you're going to see are going to be the suit related. Okay. So I really wanted a regular deck of cards, but I'll have that for the next. You have two categories in each one of these three deck styles. Okay, the two major categories, you're going to have the major arcana and the minor arcana. Okay, a major arcana is what's considered your suit cards. So like Justice, Strength, Wheel of Fortune, those are going to be your major arcana cards. Now your minor arcana cards are going to be all of your number cards, your kings, queens, and pages and knights. Okay. Now, very similar to a regular deck of cards is this particular style. Okay. So The only thing that a deck of cards don't have in them is going to be the major arcanas. They only have the minors, okay? And in your regular deck of cards, you have your spades, you have your diamonds, you have your hearts, and you have your clovers, okay? Basically the same thing with tarot. You've got your wands, you've got your pentacles, you've got your cups, and you've got your swords, okay? Same thing. If you can learn how to associate the two of them, you may never ever need to buy a tarot deck because you can use a regular deck of cards. Here's the thing. Some of the other decks go in a little bit further. Now you've got what's called, and I know a lot of people have asked me about it, the oracle decks. Okay, oracle decks follow the same line when it comes to the two major categories. However, the oracle decks do what's more of a spiritual guiding. So anytime you want to do an oracle deck reading, it's usually because you want a little more detailed information of your astrological in stuff. So like if I wanted to know more about being a Taurus, I would go into oracles and also element decks. Okay, this deck that I have here is what's called an element archangel deck. Okay, this deck holds two different features. It follows the same arcana sign where you've got a major and a minor, but they change your wands, your pentacles, your cups, and your swords to the elements. So now you have your fire, your water, your earth, and your air signs, okay? That's also associated with your zodiac symbol and the astrological signs, okay? Zodiac symbols meaning Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, the whole 9 yards. On this particular card, you have not just your elements, but then you have your archangels. Now, your archangels is going to pull a little bit more into the religion aspect. This is why a lot of people get confused on tarot and religion. Yes, you can be a very religious person and still do tarot cards. You are not summoning the devil when you're doing tarot cards. You are not bringing on negative spirits when you're doing tarot cards because you're not, you really can't do that. Now, if you're going to be of somebody who is of constant negative energy and you're only around negative people, well, of course, that's what you're going to receive is negative. So just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're doing your readings or you're playing with your cards, that your mind is very calm, it's very positive, you're at a good state, and you're ready to receive the information, okay? One other thing I want to tell you guys a little bit about is when you're doing readings for yourself or card pulls for yourself. Let's say you woke up in the morning, you had a bad dream last night, and you want to find out what the fuck that was all about. You can go ahead and pull your card, but here's the deal, and I tell all of my beginners this. If you pull your card,
I'll be back.
and like I said, you don't like the answer that it gave you, you are going to misinterpret that, meaning you're going to guide yourself into the wrong direction for that day. So the best thing for you to do is before you even sit down to pull a card, is think about your question. Really meditate for a second, really get that cleanse going to find out what kind of question I really want to ask, and then you need to be 100% honest with yourself. I was talking to my husband about this earlier, and I was telling him that us as human beings, we have the tendency to sugarcoat things for ourselves. Now, this is what I don't understand and what's always drawn me to the human brain. Is out of anybody in our lives to lie to, why do we turn to lie to ourselves first? And why do we lie to ourselves so harshly? And it's because we're not ready to accept the truth and we're not ready to change. I know some of you guys have sent me personal DMs where you guys are telling me you're on a spiritual awakening path and you're wanting to learn more and stuff like this. I am super excited to take that path with you. So once again, if we're going to do any type of card readings for ourselves, we definitely want to sit down for a second and be 100% honest with ourselves before we try to go and ask our cards questions. Because our cards will definitely tell us stuff that, one, either we don't want to hear, two, we don't believe, or three, it's too good to be true. Meditating is another thing that is something that you should do on a regular basis. Meditation was originally designed to clear the mind so that you can accept your third eye and your spiritual beings around you. Okay, monks use this. This is an ancient history practice, but us as Americans, we don't know how to shut that part off. We are always on social media. We always have something in our hands. We're always talking with somebody. We're never by ourselves long enough to even listen to our own breath, okay? I find that if people have hard times with meditation, try doing yoga for a little bit first, okay? When you start doing yoga and you start holding positions, like if I'm in a warrior position, right, I have to focus on my stance. I have to make sure that my hand is in the right position. I have them set to the ground and I'm grounded. Okay, all of that is good, but at the same time, you are meditating because you have to focus on you. You're focusing on your breath. You're focusing on your position. You're focusing on your stretch. If you're having a hard time with meditation in general by itself because you can't sit in silence, try doing yoga. All right, cool. So that went a lot faster than what I thought it was going to. So
You did awesome.